All right, welcome in. It is time for Total Bases, the Saturday edition. Guys, I'm watching the NASA moon, or they're coming back to Earth. The rocket's going to land in the ocean or whatever. And it's like the parachutes come out, nice, easy landing. And I'm just wishing that I could come back to Earth like that and just have a nice, easy landing off a hot streak. But no, anytime that I'm coming back down to Earth, it's always a crash and burn disaster, which is what I had yesterday. 0-3, all three losses too were one-run losses that I had a lead or lost in extra innings. So a very frustrating day for your boy after being 9-1 coming into the day. Now we got to start back over, but we'll probably do that 10, 15, 20 times throughout the course of the season. I'll go to Tokyo Brandon first. It feels like I've already been on with you guys forever. And it's April 11th, right? You have to kind of pinch yourself when you're looking at baseball right now and say, hey, it's April 11th. So much ball to be played. And I think it's going to, it should start to leak into your handicap. So we're going to start today with Red Sox Cardinals. That was one of my losses yesterday, was the Red Sox. Again, a team that had a lead that ended up choking it away, losing by one. You've had your opinion on this Red Sox team, TV. That's why I'm going to let you start. A couple nice wins against the Brewers to close out the last series, but then they turn around and lose a game that I felt like they were in a good position to win. They're favored again today. Are you backing the Red Sox, or are you still – is that red blazer telling us you like the Cardinals? Let us know.
It's not a blazer, it's a fur coat. But I have to say – Adam, I'm sorry, but I'm on a 4-0 run in MLB and a 3-0 run in KBO. So I'm 7-0 right now. So I'm feeling pretty hot. I was cold when you were hot. So I guess we're polar opposites, perhaps. Polar's a nice word because Brian just called me Santa Claus. So, but he's wearing an ASU shirt. So I don't know Brian today. Let's get to the game. I put the pitcher OPS rankings on my Twitter X, and I also put the pitcher outs projections, and neither one of these pitchers show up because there's not enough sample size. So I'll just tell you what I know, but I don't have a strong opinion on this. Boston is 1-6 on the road. That's one thing. Neither one of these starters pitching well. The St. Louis bullpen is absolute hot garbage right now, and Boston's is above average. Hitting wise, St. Louis a little better than Boston in current form. So I don't think I'd touch this game with a 10-foot pole unless I would bet an over, just because maybe a Boston team total over, because Leahy's been so terrible and the Cardinal bullpen has just been awful too. I got Boston ranked 14 in hitting, which is right around the Mendoza line. So I think that's good enough for 4 runs, maybe 5 runs in this game. So maybe a Boston over. I'd be hesitant to take the side because Ranger Suarez is not pitching well right now, but he is better than his counterpart in general. So not a strong opinion on this. Maybe Brian has something better.
Yeah, Brian, let's bring in Bryan Leonard here, national TV in the States tonight. This is one of the Fox sort of big games on the Saturday slate. Red Sox just can't get a timely hit, Brian. I mean, if you look at their games this year, and I've now lost with them twice, both were 3-2. Both were games that they led in, and both were games that they had a chance to tie. You go back to last night, they get great base running by Ceddanne Rafaela to get to third with 1 out. Yoshida strikes out, and they can't get the timely hit. That, to me, is as much of a story for the 4-9 as anything. How are you seeing this one, Red Sox Cardinals?
Yeah, I do an afternoon show for a couple of breakdowns in Major League Baseball Monday through Friday, and I was with you. I had Boston. I like the pitching matchup there, and other than unearned runs, I thought we had a nice winner there. But Suarez going, he's the lefty going against Leahy, and unlike our distinguished Japanese host, I like Leahy. I think he's the guy in this starting rotation for St. Louis who I think has the biggest upside from a betting perspective. He's somebody who I think we can find some value on. And Boston continues to find ways to lose. I will say that the Boston bullpen is in better shape than St. Louis is, and they're also stronger. They're better pitchers in the back end. So what I'm going to take a look at in this game is I want St. Louis in the first half. Right now, we're looking at basically plus 115 in the first half for them. And I like the situation here with St. Louis, and I'll think they'll have some success here. When I take a look at some of the numbers, I think that they're pretty close out there. So we're getting what I consider a better situation for the pitching for Leahy. And we're getting them at a slight underdog price in the first half. Yeah, I'll go with that right now. The Boston Bats continue to struggle, and St. Louis is a young team believing in themselves. So yeah, I don't know if that'll be my show play, but I am going to bet that and give it out to my clients.
Yeah, credit to you, Brian. I think we, at the beginning of the year, a lot of people were out on this Cardinals team, and you kind of were one that was, probably higher than the market on them so far. 8-5, can't, no complaints about how they've started the season. And, just to go back to last night for a second, and then trying to assess the Red Sox today, I got the number I wanted last night with Connolly early. Actually, I would have preferred minus 130, minus 125, but minus 135 to me was fair right there, all things considered. I thought that early against May and some of the struggles that May has had to start the season represented like reasonable value. I made it closer to minus 148, minus 149. That's why I was able to play the Red Sox last night. Today, my number, I don't think my number's kind of right where the market is right now on this one. So it's like, I can't really take the Red Sox unless I was to get like maybe 10 to 15 cents more, because it's like, I laid minus 135 in what I thought was a good spot. I lost, and suddenly I'm being asked to lay minus 135 again. So, even though I am actively looking for spots to sort of jump in with the Red Sox, I don't think they're going to be a sub 500 team. My gut says they're going to figure it out at some point. I thought the Brewers series, the end of the Brewers series, taking 2 of 3 was maybe a sign that they'd come in and beat what I consider to be a lesser team this weekend. And maybe they still do that over the course of the next 2 days, but I don't know if this one's going to get my money at that price. Let's go to the chat here. Got Mark Lambert. We got, first of all, thank you all for tuning in on a Saturday. We're going to be in this slot. Last call is going to go after us at 11. So if you are looking for basically anything other than baseball, stay tuned. I think it's Dan Alexander today, and I believe he's got UFC. Of course, the Masters is still going. So last call will follow us at 11. We'll do all the baseball here. Let's go to another national TV game. I'm going to go back to Brian for this one. A couple people in the chat say Diamondbacks again. Yes, please. Shout out to both of you for being high on the Diamondbacks earlier this week. I didn't think that they would have success in that Mets series. They did. I got to be honest. I didn't think they would have success in this series with, this series with the Phillies, and they come out and take the opener last night. Brian, I don't really like Tawan Walker. Arizona could have more success today. Talk to me, D-backs Philly.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed this game out along with the other one, because I like them both. Rondon Fott going for Arizona. Tawan Walker still in the rotation. There's many people in Philadelphia that can't figure it out. They figured once they got the rookie up there that they'd drop him, but granted to him, he's continued to pitch a lot longer than I thought he would be. Philadelphia's about a 135 favorite here, total 8.5. I am going to find a way to play Arizona here. I prefer it in the first half. I trust Fott more than I do Walker. The reason why I prefer the first half is take a look at the Phillies bullpen. Johan Duran has not pitched in 4 days. He's going to be pitching today one way or another. They usually don't like to leave the guys that long without pitching. Alvarado hasn't pitched in 2 days, and Keller only threw 7 pitches yesterday, Kirkering 13. So everybody's going to be available for the Philadelphia bullpen. So I don't want to go against them later on in the game. And with Arizona, they don't have many guys in the bullpen that you could trust. Seawald's, he's pitched 2 out of the last 4. He did get the save yesterday. Murillo threw 26 pitches, and that's something that he's probably not going to come back on. So they're not nearly as deep. as what Philadelphia is in that regard. And just from a value standpoint, I think Arizona's the team that we want to back. And a key reason why I like them today is they're finally getting their best player back today. The center fielder is going to be back today. He's been out the last few days, but he's now going to be in the starting lineup. In fact, they've already published the starting lineup on this game. I appreciate that when the teams do that early, so we know who's going to be out there. So I'm going to take Arizona in the first half of this game, and I get basically plus 105 everywhere.
Yeah, this is so Tokyo Brandon, I'll go to you. You know, I don't think it's baseball reasons why Tawan Walker is still in this rotation. They owed him money. You know, that was one thing, right? So from a financial standpoint, it didn't make sense to sort of let him go. And then, you know, go back to last year, they had to trade Mick Abel to get Johan Duran. So that was a guy that was probably sort of tabbed to be a rotation option. They have to ship him off to Minnesota to get Duran. Zach Wheeler goes down. So now he's down at Lehigh Valley, still in rehab. He's pitched a couple times. So he's probably on the brink of coming back, but not back quite yet. You know, and so suddenly he's kind of, it's not that he's the best option. It's just he's the option, right? Because you look down at Lehigh Valley, there's really not much starting pitching down there at this point. So do you look at this as like, hey, we're not going to get that. There's not going to be that many more opportunities to fade Walker here because he's going to be the first one out. Go, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, Wheeler pitched, I believe, in single A, and they're going to go one more game, and then he's going to be up. So he'll be up next week. That'll probably be the death knell unless Walker somehow pitches great. And I don't root against anybody, but this could very well be his last start for a while, unless there's injuries. And of course, that's how it goes. They continue to make that jump from AAA up to the majors.
Go ahead, TB.
Guys, we have a double play special at WagerTalk. You can take two of us three for 3 days. Huge discount. So go to wagertalk.com and get that discount. We are three of the best cappers on the planet. So you can't go wrong with two of three of us. I think Taijuan Walker might have some incriminating pictures of the manager's wife or something. There's no other reason for starting him. I have him ranked 30 on my starting pitcher out of 250 starting pitchers on a curve of 30. He's 30, which means he's probably about 249 or 250 out of all the starting pitchers. Terrible. And if you look at the OPS rankings on my Twitter X, he's third worst of 18 starters. He's got a 998 OPS against these batters in 41 at bats, which is a good sample size. So I think Arizona could probably go to town on him. The thing is, both of these teams, leave it to me to badmouth someone and then they turn it around. But Arizona's bullpen, I just trashed them at the beginning of the season. They're really in good form right now. I have Arizona ranked 6 in MLB in current form for their bullpen, and I have Philly 2. So these are two of the top performing bullpens at the moment. So my inclination would be go over because these are two good lineups. But with those two good bullpens, maybe over in the first 5, or take the Arizona side because Arizona is actually hitting better and they actually have the better starting pitcher. Although I don't back Fott a lot, but against this pitcher today and the Philly bats being a little cold, I think I would. I haven't bet it yet, but yeah, Arizona on the side or the first 5 over would probably be how I would approach this.
Zach Wheeler has made 3 starts for AAA Lehigh Valley, and on the broadcast last night or the night before, I can't remember when I had that game on, they said he's probably going to make 2 more starts there. So that was like they kind of have it scripted, I believe, which means, and the only reason I bring that up is because if he's making 2 more starts there, you're likely getting Walker 2 more times through the rotation before he's inevitably placed by Wheeler. And again, I think we did hash out why he's still in there. It's just they just don't really have someone else that they would put in that spot at this point. So because of that, you may get 2 more chances to fade him. And again, I'm kind of with Brian where it's like, I think I'd want to find a way to bet the Diamondbacks. If I can't find a way to bet the Diamondbacks, I'm totally fine trying to fade Walker in some capacity, whether it's a team total over or there's probably a good way to do it. And that may be something I look at after the show. Also, just to speak on the bullpen, TB, yeah, they have been a lot better, but they also haven't had a ton of big time leverage innings of late. They've been winning games big. Like Arizona's been winning games without really needing that like 3 or 4 out save in the 9th inning. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Because I'll tell you what, once Arizona gets into some close games or blows one, I feel like it goes the other way, where suddenly they start, that bullpen starts getting blown up a little bit. Good. All right, let's go to another day game. Brian, I'll go back to you here because I'm seeing another total in this one of 6.5. And that's, of course, day baseball in Wrigley with some potential wind blowing in. I don't think even with I like both of these pitchers, but even with these two pitchers, I don't know you're getting a 6.5 without the wind blowing in. Yesterday, it was a sign of, didn't come close to it yesterday, a 2-0 final. The Pirates win. We had a 6.5 total yesterday in that game. I believe Tokyo Brandon was targeting unders and sweat free right there. 2-0. The Pirates win. I think there's still a value on the Pirates. I say it every day. I've got this one. Same thing as yesterday. It was plus 130, 135. My number was closer to plus 105, 110. I'm in the same boat today. Braxton Ashcraft, Edward Cabrera. How are you seeing Pirates Cubs?
Yeah, I believe you like the Pirates, and I think the other two of us both like the under, and that was a nice finish for everybody. Ashcraft against Cabrera. Like both the starters. Not as many people know about Ashcraft. Cabrera just signed that big deal with the Cubs. He had one good year from his control, and then he signed him. We'll see how that goes. That's kind of risky in that regard, but he's pitched pretty well so far this season. Yeah, you talk about the 6.5 with the total. That was a clear under there, and I look for more of the same. It's not blowing in quite as much as it was yesterday, but the home runs will be lessened. My projections that I use say each team is going to get 0.3 home runs, so that's just over a half a home run. A home run is normally worth because sometimes there's people on base, sometimes there's not. It's about 1.3 runs. So if you're getting a game that normally is going to have basically a half of a home run, so let's just say 0.8. That still means they've got to score 6 runs, 6 plus 6.2 runs to get you over in this without a home run. I don't see it happening with these two pitchers on the mound. I prefer the under in this game, and maybe once again take a look at maybe the Cubs team total under. Because if they win, they're going to get one less at bat, chances are. And I like the starting pitcher for Pittsburgh.
TB, I just have to say, if there wasn't a man by the name of Paul Skeens on this Pirates roster, like everyone would be drooling over Braxton Ashcraft. I mean, the second rounder, 2018 draft. He got to the organization young. They babied him every step of the way. Like really, again, I think Skeens came in and just suddenly people forgot that they had another legitimate ace. I think he gets a little watered down in the rankings because of that. He's kind of flown under the radar. Even last year when he got called up, pitched out of the bullpen a little bit. I love Ashcraft. Again, about a strikeout per inning since he's been in the big leagues. I'm only backing him at this point. So, and he cleaned up the walks, 4 walks in his first outing. He was pinpoint against the Orioles. Pittsburgh, Chicago, under or Pirates for you on either of these here?
So I'm going to go exactly the opposite of Brian, and we'll see who wins when the game's over. But look, the Cubs yesterday, they stranded 11 guys on base. They were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen again. Highly doubt it. This total is just too low for a Wrigley game. I don't care what the weather is or what the wind is. Cabrera, he does have nice stats. As a matter of fact, on my OPS ranking on Twitter, I have him ranked 4th out of all starting pitchers today. However, His walk rate's a little high this season. I know the sample size is small. So don't read too much into that. But I mean, a 3-3 game and we win this over. So I don't see a repeat of yesterday. I think we'll get at least a 3-3 game and push it to the over. It might not clear it like a 10-0 game or something, but I think this will go over. I think 6.5 in Major League Baseball is just absurd. And I don't think the Cubs are going to strand 11 guys today. So they're getting on base. They're just not knocking them in. We'll see who's right when the game's over. We'll see.
I don't disagree with the thought process there at all, in the respect that it's like, if you look at both of these starters, Ashcraft, electric stuff, Edward Cabrera, electric stuff, they have both been prone at times to walking guys, especially Cabrera. I feel like when Cabrera doesn't have it, he'll walk 6 guys. And then you talked about the Cubs, creating some opportunities, just couldn't cash them in. I mean, they're certainly Ashcraft being as sort of high upside as he is. If he puts guys on base, like, I'm not going to say the Cubs can't cash in a big hit or two. So yeah, no question about it. 6.5 does not leave you much room for error. And you know what? Connor Griffin's going to put one in the seats at some point. Like, this guy's not going to bat 143 very long, in my opinion. I know he's a young kid, but I think the Connor Griffin sort of breakout game is around the corner somewhere. So if you look at it like that, and then Mark says the Cubs are due, 6.5 might not hold up. It'll be interesting to see. But regardless, I still like the Pirates on the money line. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I'm just going to say, if you're playing the due system, you're due to lose all your money.
Yep.
Because you can't do that. You got to look at every game individually.
Nothing's due.
No, for sure. I don't disagree with that, but I also don't think. Listen, if like Tokyo Brandon is saying, if you're putting guys on base and stranding them, but you're consistently getting guys on base, at some point, that white ball is going to find some green grass, right? It's just how it goes.
Yeah, in the long run, but you don't know it's the next game. It could go on, 3 or 4 days. That's why they have hitting.
But the fact that they are creating opportunities is good enough for me to think 6.5 is too low. But I could be wrong. And I haven't seen a Fresca in 20 years. Adam's drinking a Fresca.
I know. It was in my fridge. I was not. I couldn't really
I
find
haven't had one of
anything
those
else.
since I was in high school.
I already knocked off the energy drink and a couple waters, and there was a lone Fresca in my fridge. I didn't even look at the date on this.
Awesome.
Oh, it's 2020.
Could be 1986.
I was going to say it's
No,
probably
we're good.
70s because my mom
we're good.
forced me to drink that in Tab.
I think 86 was my last Fresca.
You know what though, TB, that Fresca was probably good back then. Now Coca-Cola bought it and it's just like mass produced. It used to be, when I was a kid, it was like harder to find. Like now it's like you can get
much
it
better back in the day.
Now you can get it anywhere. And no, this is not expired. June 29th. It has a date on the bottom. So anyway,
get our double play.
Not my first choice. Would have been Diet Coke. Didn't see one in there. I probably should lay off the soda.
If you're drinking Diet Coke, it's just as bad as the other two. Coke Zero is a little bit better.
I'll have to check that out. I really just probably should up the water intake. That's really what, if we're being honest. But heading back to drinking twisted tea. I have never drank a twisted tea on the show. I don't think I've had a twisted tea in over a decade. I didn't even know that there was still a thing, but shout out to Twisted Tea if you're still going. Quick promo for the site. We've got double play package up on our page, everyone's page. And TB was kind of alluding to it earlier. I was hot earlier in the week. I had an 0-3 day yesterday. He is hot right now. That's the nice thing about sort of diversifying your portfolio, I suppose. You're going to get more angles. You might have one guy hot when the other is not. I think Vino and I had a couple runs like that where it's like he couldn't miss and then I couldn't miss and then he couldn't miss and then I couldn't miss. So again, I do think it's the best bang for your buck on the site. All right, let's get back into the games here. I'll go back to you, Brian. We've talked about this Marlins team pretty much on a daily basis, I feel like, on this show. I know you kind of liked them yesterday, and it just didn't pan out. They just didn't hit. The Tigers were able to squeak by a 2-0 win. But, the Tigers didn't really, I don't think the Tigers solved any of their issues of late. They just happened to get a very, very strong pitching performance from Kiter Montero and squeak out a 2-0 win. So my question to you, Jansen Junk on the mound against Casey Mize. Are you back on the Marlins this afternoon?
Yeah, the two games that I was looking to fade a team that hadn't been playing well, that was a favorite, Detroit and Toronto. They both got the victories yesterday, but I'm with you. I'm not sure it changes the immediate future for either one of these teams. Junk is a guy that his fastball is up about 2 miles an hour, 1.5 to 2 miles an hour at this point. His stuff has been good. A lot of guys who judge pitching really like him, and I think what throws him back is because of his last name. You think of a guy that doesn't have a lot of skill, but he's not a bad pitcher. And Casey Mize, we went into last season, neither one of us liked him. He hadn't proven anything, and to his credit, he's been a decent major league pitcher since then. So two guys that I think may be a little bit better than what we expect. Detroit's usually a pretty good pitcher's ballpark. Let me take a look at the weather kind of things here. Most of the games today are still supposed to be a little bit cold, so you're not running into anything like that. And in this game at Comerica Park, we're going to get 44% less home runs than you would normally get in the game. So it's not a good home run ballpark anyway. The wind's blowing from left to right. Nothing extreme in the weather conditions. So maybe first half under in this game, something to that effect, because I do think both of these pitchers have some value.
Tokyo Brandon, I feel like your sort of rankings and stuff is always sort of a good litmus test about like where teams are at right now, sort of like at present. So G Hurt, I know he's a Tigers fan, so we have to take this with a little bit of grain of salt, but he says the Tigers hitting is absolute garbage. I watched a lot of Tigers Twins. I didn't catch a ton of the Marlins game last night, but I watched a lot of Tigers Twins, and then to see they only put up 2. Toledo's not hitting well either. Some of these guys that might be able to come up and take spots. So I don't know. Maybe the Tigers hitting is garbage. Go back to the second half of last season. They couldn't hit either. So what do you make of that? And is that factoring into your handicap here?
So it's almost midnight on Saturday night, which is why I'm drinking, instead of twisted tea, straight vodka from a retro Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That cup is unbelievable. Hold the cup up for a second, TB. That's awesome.
They got straight vodka there instead of twisted tea. So it's Saturday night. What am I going to do? So I'll show you I'll share my vodka's kicking in. I'll share my rankings with you. I got Detroit hitting 15 out of 30. So they're very mediocre right now. And Miami, I got them hitting 5 in current form. Starting pitcher, I don't have neither one of these pitchers register on my pitcher projections today because they don't have enough sample size. And none of the hitters register either. So I don't have a really good read on this game, but Miami ranks higher. Junk ranks higher than Mize so far on the season, but the sample size is so small, I can't really get a good read. And I have both bullpens sub-mediocre in current form. So if anything, Miami, I think, would be the side here. But I'm not betting this because Miami is such a hard read this season. When I zig with them, they zag, and I can't get a good read on them. They're like the Padres and the Blue Jays for me. Those are 3 teams that I'm just kind of avoiding at the moment until I can get a good read on them. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the Marlins in the respect that it's like, I thought that they were going to be better than where they came in position into the market. They have been. They're 8-6. But they definitely have a lot of these guys. Like Junk is a great example of a guy that's like, he failed as a big leaguer in multiple stops prior to getting to Miami. And so you almost have to look at like what they're doing with some of these like almost like throwaway type guys. Looking at their Jacksonville roster, and then some guys that have come up and helped the big league club in the bullpen, and then Jansen Junk being like a starter. It is like, honestly, it's incredible. It's something that Brian pointed out maybe at the beginning of last year, like, hey, like they are really like developing talent down there. But not only are they developing the younger players, but they're basically getting some of these retread guys to be like pretty solid big leaguers. And that's so I'm with you there with it's like I go into the, it's almost every time Junk comes on the mound, it's like I have what happened in Milwaukee in my head. And it's like, I'm waiting for him to fade. But yet, I mean, Brian, we're on a year of him being in the rotation at this point, and he's still been pretty good. And I feel like that's kind of how I look at this Marlins team in general, where it's like, I feel like I should be betting them every day. But like UTB, I can't find the perfect spot to get in with them. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out in regards to my thought process on this game that there's only 6 pitchers who, according to the numbers that I use, have a chance to get a quality start at over 40%. 2 of them in this game, Junk 42 and Mize 49. So if a pitcher's getting a quality start, that means he's having success in pitching in this game. And I think there's plenty of value here on the under, whether it be first half or full game.
This is why I like doing the show with you guys, because we can learn from each other. Like Brian's numbers and my numbers are different, but we both win. So it's good to share information like this. It's very educational for me as well.
Yeah, and it should be educational for the viewers. I think that's why you guys show up on a daily basis. We greatly appreciate it. We want to also try to get to what you guys have going on in the chat. Jump in the comments on the replay. Whenever I can, I get in and I'll try to answer questions on the replay if we don't hit something on the show. One other thing I'll point out with Jansen, Junk, and Marlins pitching before we move on, and this is something Sandy Alcantara does. Like they're not guys that are constantly out there like hunting strikeouts. So it's like their pitchers are pretty economical. Jansen Junk last time out, 7 1/3 against the Reds, only 3 strikeouts, but he was great. And that's something Alcantara does as well. It's like he's not out there using 6 or 7 pitches to try to put away, wasting on 1 and 2, trying to put guys away. Like they throw competitive pitches at every point in the count. They get outs and they get deep in the game. So it's again, my bold prediction, the Marlins are going to be in the World Series at some point in the next 5 years. I really think that if you see what's coming along, they will be sniffing like an NLCS or something. Give them 5 years. They'll be in that. That's how good I think that this organization is operating right now. All right, Brian, I'm going to go to you. Let's start firing out some picks here. Do you know what you're going to use for the parlay for the show today?
I do. And I did want to point out that was an excellent point you made about the number of pitches it takes to make an out. Those are usually your smarter pitchers in Major League Baseball. They're not trying to blow it past people to try to strike everybody out. And they're the ones that last longer in the game. And anytime, if you like the starting pitcher and he's lasting longer in the game, chances are you're going to win more of those games. So that was a great point. Before we get to my selection, which is a game we spoke about already, I won again yesterday. Had 8 plays. I want 4 and 3. One of them, there was a pitching change, and I list all of my pitching changes or my pitchers all the time because it does make a difference. And we had a certain team with a game total over in that game. And it wasn't their pitcher, it wasn't the other pitcher, it was their pitcher. But the reason why I do that is because if that pitcher's not on the mound and somebody else comes in, I didn't handicap that ahead of time. So if your start or your opener gives up like 5 runs in the first, your entire plans for that game are completely out. So I always list both pitchers in every game just to let everybody know. But anyway, what am I? 21 and 11 Major League Baseball run right now. I'm sorry about that. We're going to go back to one of the games we talked about. I like Brandon Pfaadt in the first 5 against Walker at plus money. This Phillies team is not a team hitting very well. Corbin Carroll back playing center field for Arizona. He hasn't been there the last few games. He's the best bat there. He's one of the best bats in Major League Baseball. So I'm going to use Brandon Pfaadt in Arizona, the first 5 at plus 105. And I do want to make another touch on something in another game we discussed. Boston and St. Louis with Suarez and Lee. the hold on just a moment. Name escaped me for just a second here. All right, Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker going for St. Louis. He has cranked this year. He went to Driveline in the offseason, and whatever he did, it's been working. He looked great in spring training. He looks terrific now. Anyway, he's crushed lefties. I believe he's like 7 for 15 on the season against lefties with a huge OPS. And he's going up against a lefty today, and it's not one of my favorite lefties, as I mentioned, Ranger Suarez. So if you can get Jordan to hit a home run, hits, runs, the whole bit. I think he's not one of those props guys, but I think he's the guy you want to have some money on today.
Well, Bayou asked, he said, hey, here's my square question of the day. Who hits a home run? Well, you just got your answer. Jordan Walker, because you know what? You say that, Brian. Yeah, like the appeal of him was always the raw power, right? Like that was always the appeal with Jordan Walker, and why he's gotten chance after chance after chance after chance. If they can unlock it with him, yeah, that is a game changer for the St. Louis Cardinals. And Bayou, I hope that he cashes your prop right there. Hopefully he runs into one. Ranger Suarez has been willing to leave one out over the plate at this point, so that might be a good look. Tokyo Brandon, what are we doing for your parlay leg? And is it a game we've talked about yet or not?
It is not, but let me get a pet peeve off my chest right now. I see in the comments, not today, but in the replay comments, put the timestamps. But if you're not willing to watch the whole show, you're probably not going to win at sports betting anyways. So watch the whole show. Don't worry about timestamps, guys. I don't like that.
We'll have them. It's impossible to do them live. Go ahead, Brian, before we go back.
That's what I was going to say is we don't have the big production of some other places. So we're in the middle of handicap. Would you rather us handicap or would you rather us write that down?
Yeah. My point is, if you're not willing to invest 40 minutes to watch the whole show, you're not going to win at sports betting anyways. So don't, just do something else. Anyways, let's get on to my game. Regarding home runs, I would say Devers, Yordan Alvarez, or Randy Arozarena would have the highest chances, but home run props are sucker bets. If you want to flush your money down the toilet, you probably have a better chance of getting your money back from the toilet than winning home run props in the long run.
I just wanted to point out that's why most places don't let you bet no home runs. If you find there's certain times you can bet anything. There's going to be value, but as a general rule, I would agree.
They're sucker bets, and you might as well flush your money.
That's an option.
Flush your money down the toilet rather than bet a home run prop. In any case, my game is going to be the Royals White Sox. I'm going to take the Royals, and the reason being is because Waka is not a stud by any means, but he's got great numbers against these White Sox batters, and I've got the Royals. Their bats are a little cold right now, but so are the White Sox, and I like Waka better than Fetty. Fetty's numbers aren't that bad against the Royals, but they're worse than Waka's. Waka's numbers are pretty amazing, and the sample size is pretty good. If you look at my Twitter X, you'll see he's ranked number 3 out of 18 pitchers today. So I will back Waka for the parlay leg. I think it's minus 190, something like that.
190, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, there's a guy that has not gotten the credit he's deserved. Michael Waka has been around forever, and it's like this guy never has a bad season, really. I mean, even when it looks like he's like, even when the underlying stuff says, maybe he's going to start to fade into fade a little bit. He's getting up there in age. He just never has a bad year. And yeah, his name doesn't get thrown around like some other people's do. So again, he's been great for a really, really long time. Brian, go ahead. What if you want to add?
He's a pitcher. He's not a thrower. He's never been able to dazzle you with speed and do any of that other stuff. And those are the kind of guys that I like to bet on, because most young players get up there. They can always hit a fastball, but when you've got breaking pitches, that's kind of pitcher I like. I think there's a lot of value in it. Like Lugo's another one.
Yeah, and this is one I know I've been very, very pro White Sox on this show, and I do still think the White Sox in general like are going to be a value option for more often than not. But I even sort of alluded to this last week or in the beginning of this week after they swept the Blue Jays, that was like sort of the one team that I felt like the market had corrected on enough. They of course come out and win the opening game of this series. So again, I don't know that, like, you know, I know people are expecting me to make a case for White Sox plus 1.5 since I do basically every show, but it's like now where they're starting to get priced, I think, fairly. So I'm not going to push back on the Royals look here. And again, Waka is a guy that I've really come around on in recent years, like not trying to play against him. So what are you seeing for a number on that one? Just so I get that correct. I think, Brian, I got minus 185. Is that fair?
With his, it's about 190 overall. I think would be closer.
I'm good.
Okay, yeah, we'll go we'll go minus 190 again. It's a parlay, so it's going to come out plus money, as it is. All right, I will make the point. Like I used this same parallel the other day, and I'll use it again here. Like I think the market has adjusted enough on the White Sox in terms of like you're just not going to get like the insane value on a day-to-day basis with them. The team that I don't think it's adjusted enough with to this point is the Rockies. I used this parallel earlier this week where it's like the Rockies had swept the Astros. The White Sox had swept the Blue Jays. Well, suddenly the market caught up, especially in that series. I know Tokyo Brandon cashed a pretty big play on the Orioles in that series with the White Sox. It really 5%. Caught up. Suddenly, 5% play, and suddenly the White Sox were a very, very small dog in that series with the Orioles. So the Rockies come out and sweep the Astros, and yet you could still get Rockies plus 1.5 at a somewhat reasonable price tag the last 2 days. Now, condolences if you did that, because the Rockies plus 1.5 the last 2 days has been the right side, has been the correct side, and it has lost on a grand slam, walk-off grand slam in the 12th inning, and then last night a walk-off 3-run home run in the bottom of the 9th. So if you've had Rockies on the plus 1.5 run line the last 2 days, that is an awful way to lose both of those games, because you get to the 9th inning tied with the visiting team. Like 9 times out of 10, you're going to hit the plus 1.5, right? Like the only way to lose in that scenario is to give up a walk-off home run with someone on base. So those are tremendously unlucky losses in games that the Rockies played good enough. I think you could say they played good enough to win. If you get to the 9th inning tied or you get to extra innings, you played good enough to win the game. It just didn't work out. And then the 3 games prior to that, they beat the Astros in every game. And then you go back to a previous series, they had success against the Blue Jays. So like the point I'm trying to make here is the Rockies are still very undervalued. They're still an undervalued team. They probably will be longer because this is a team that won 43 games last year. So even if they're the worst team, even if they're one of the worst teams in the league, Brian's nodding. I want to bring him in for a second. Brian, even if the Rockies only win 65 games, that would still be 20 more than they won last year. I'm going to continue to target the Rockies whenever I can.
Yeah, I always point out the teams with they're very lucky. And I say that Mariners lead the league in bad luck. The 4th bad luck team, the 4th, the Rockies. So they're playing better than what they're doing, what their record is showing, and nobody is paying any attention. We all know about the Mariners, the Tigers, and the Phillies, but the Rockies right there is a team that could be better than a lot of people think. I always talk about fading the road Rockies, and it's gone on for a decade at least. Maybe this is the year they start playing better on the road.
Yeah, and then you talk about this matchup, just to bring it back into this matchup, and I can bring TB in for a second to get his thoughts on this. Listen, German Marquez, I know he threw the ball okay the other day, but he's still like, this is not a guy that you're laying any sort of crazy price with. It's a guy the Rockies know. He had like a 6+ ERA for their team last year. I'm sure they know him a little bit. So, listen, Ryan Feltner's not he's not Sandy Koufax, but he's not bad. Like he's not, he's been pretty serviceable for them when he's been healthy. So again, I'm on the Rockies plus 1.5 here for the parlay. And if this will come down 10 to 15 cents, this might be a client play for me. TB, just your general thoughts on this game because we haven't looped you in on Rockies Padres yet.
Sure. I have 3 plays in MLB today. They're grouped together for $19. You could get that promo myself. So regarding this game, aside from the walk-off home runs, these games have all been like 2-3 run games until the end. So these are very under-ish teams, and the total here is like 9.5. I think is way too high for a Rockies San Diego Padre game, but it should be close. I would say Rockies plus 1.5. I think on the season that's probably like 7 wins and 4 losses or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but you're winning more than you're losing.
Yeah, you just look at Brian. I'll go back. Can you get me a price? I that's one thing. Well, I have so many screens up. It's hard for me to look at the like price per book screen. What are we looking at for Rockies plus 1.5 right now?
That'll be Rocky spread. I'm looking at the Odds Logic website, which this company owns, and it's a terrific site. You're looking at the Rockies, you're plus 1.5 at basically minus 150.
Yeah, that's kind of where I do think the books kind of got this one right. I was hoping after the last 2 nights because, someone in the chat said, well, the Padres started to hit. Yeah, I guess. But like a lot of those runs are deceiving, right? Like, when you're starting with guys on base and extras, and then you get like the bomb to end the game. I don't know that they're exactly just like knocking the cover off the ball. They didn't hit the night before. That was I believe or even last night was a 2-2 game going into the 9th inning before they hit the home run. So yeah, I mean, they're finding a way, but again, you talk about getting a run and a half. Let's just assume they find a way again. Is it going to be by another walk-off 3-run blast? I mean, if it is, that would be a crazy way to end 3 straight games. I think more likely, the Rockies win here. I think this is an even matchup, so you could look at the money line. But for the parlay, I've got to look at the plus 1.5 because, again, if the Padres win, let's say the Rockies bullpen chokes it away again. They have used some leverage arms the last couple of days. I mean, for it to happen again on a walk-off home run that like clears the bases would just be kind of it's rare for that to happen in back-to-back games. So I do like the Rockies on the money line. Yeah, that would be
3 in a row would be crazy.
I do like the Rockies on the money line. I think Feltner is a better option than Marquez. I think the Rockies have adults in the room now. They've have some people in that organization that are starting to run things the way a Major League Baseball organization should be run. And Brian's nodding. I think they just discover analytics this past offseason. I mean,
they've done things differently than everybody else, and it hasn't worked out. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. So, hey, listen, I think you're going to continue to cash tickets on the Rockies. They're going to continue to be a good value bet on the money line. I will continue to target them plus 1.5. And again, I think the books figured it out a little bit, pricing them at minus 145, minus 150. If this were to come down to like minus 125, minus 130, because the Padres were to take a rush of money, which can happen. It's happened a couple times. It's happened in one of the games already this series. I think you got to like the Rockies. So that's how I will close out today's parlay. That means we're going to have Bryan Leonard kicking us off 1 p.m. Eastern, Fox Sports 1, with Diamondbacks plus 105 in the first 5 innings. Tokyo Brandon is going Royals on the money line, and that's we'll grade that minus 190 in the parlay. I'm going Rockies plus 1.5. We'll call it minus 150 for the parlay. Obviously, shop around. And it was fun hanging with you guys on Saturday. Don't forget 10 minutes from now, 15 minutes from now, last call is going to be on talking Masters, UFC. I think Kyle Anthony's on the show. Whatever else is going on in the sports world today. So stay tuned for that. The 3 of us will be back Monday morning at 9 a.m. for more Total Bases. We'll see you guys then.